What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a reaction to Ayreon, his album, The Final Experiment, brought to us by our friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, River. Thank you, River. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out that Patreon link below or the patron link on the end screen. We could not do without the patrons. You have to give a one-time donation, a one-time reaction. Check out our Buy Me a Coffee page. All right, River knows a ton about music, and River says this. Here's my plan the next few months, because I've decided to give one artist a bit of a spotlight, going one album to the next of a discography, because going back over my taste, this artist introduced me to a lot of artists I have came to love. We're discovering the discography of Ayreon, progressive metal project by multi-instrumentalist Ayreon Anthony Lucassen, and we're starting with The Final Experiment, the first album of the Ayreon project. Ayreon Lucassen is known for bringing some of the best metal singers together from bands all over the metal scene, from Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth to James Labrie of Dream Theater. This album is different on a re-listen. It's not as good as I remember, but we have to start somewhere, right? And this is the debut album, which I'll get to in a minute. The album is, however, setting up what will be a major plot Ayreon sets up in each rock opera album that goes forward. Despite many issues I take with some song lengths, I enjoy this artist a lot. It's a definition, in my opinion, of progressive metal cheese and a great place to look for various incredible metal singers, some of which I've done lists for or plan lists for. So where better to go than where I found some of the artists exactly right. So I'll give you a little background on Ayreon, because we're going to be in this for a little while. And I told you, I kind of read that intro for you from River to know that if you're watching this and it's a while after I put this video up, there's most likely more videos up. So just type Ayreon up above. Ayreon's a musical project by Dutch songwriter, singer, musician, and record producer Ayreon Anthony Lucassen. Ayreon's music is described as progressive rock, progressive metal, and power metal, sometimes combined with genres such as folk, electronica, experimental, and classical music. So basically, almost everything. The majority of Ayreon's albums are dubbed rock operas or metal operas because the albums contain complex storylines featuring a host of characters, usually with each one being represented by a unique vocalist, which is what River was referencing. Each Ayreon album tells a different story, but all, with the exception of Actual Fantasy, which we're not to yet, The Theory of Everything, and Transitus, take place in the same fictional science fiction universe. Additionally, Lucassen's solo album, Lost in the Real, is also set in the Ayreon universe. Ayreon's music is characterized by the use of traditional instruments and rock music, so guitars, bass guitar, drums, analog synths, electric organs, mixed with instruments more native to folk and classical music, mandolins, violins, violas, cello, flutes, sitars, all kinds of things. Lucassen writes the music and the lyrics, sings and plays most of the instruments on all of the Ayreon albums, alongside many guest musicians. His most regular collaborator is drummer Ed Warby. Due to the project's particular nature, Ayreon live performances are rare. This album itself, I already told you, debut studio album, released in 1995, originally released with no artist noted as Ayreon, The Final Experiment. The unexpected success of the album led project leader, of course, Ayreon Anthony Lucassen, to detach the Ayreon name and use it as the project's name for subsequent releases at the suggestion of the record label. Hey guys, sometimes things just organically happen, right? The album focuses on the character of Ayreon, a blind minstrel in 6th century Britain who receives visions of the end of the world and attempts to warn King Arthur's court of the threat. Unlike future Ayreon releases, characters are not each voiced by a single singer, with several alternating as Ayreon and other characters over the course of the story. The Final Experiment includes several concepts which appear in future Ayreon albums, which River was referencing, such as humanity's propensity for war, pollution, and gratuitous use of technology in human society. Well, since 1995, all of those things have just amplified. The end of the world witnessed by the character of Ayreon plays a key role in the overall storyline featured in following albums, and the character himself is referenced multiple times in later albums. The creation of this, a number of albums from the 1960s and 70s featuring common stylistic threads, made a lifelong impact on Ayreon. The dynamic and exciting music, emotionally driven lyrics, and an ensemble cast found in albums such as Andrew Lloyd Webber's Jesus Christ Superstar and The Who's Tommy, commonly referred to as rock operas, inspired him to create one of his own. Working in an environment where he could develop an album exactly as he wanted, he intended to create his vision, making no compromises along the way, which is rare in music. His vision manifested itself in The Final Experiment. After being rejected by several different record labels, was picked up by a small Dutch record label. The project was financially burdensome, but through some subsidization in the form of a very large amount of money, he said, from his father, it was seen through to completion and was successful enough to warrant another Ayreon release, and then another, and another, and another. All right, if you haven't been with us before, the music will not be in the video because it could be blocked, and we don't want that. So click on that Vimeo link below. You can follow along with the music, which is important in something like this. I mean, it's always important, but it's important in something like this. All right, let's get to it. And we start off with Prologue, which would make sense. And I'm just going to give you the info. It's always an interesting challenge to do concept albums like this because I'm trying to give you, I did a lot of research. There's not a ton of research out there on this one. I'm trying to give you kind of what this is about before we go into the song, because it's a lot harder if I tell you about it afterwards, because you're like, well, I would have paid more attention to this or this. So we've got, in the year 2084, scientists have found a way to send messages back into time using telepathy. With the Earth nearly destroyed by many different causes, they have one hope for the experiment: warn the past of the future to avert the fate of Earth. This is in 3 parts. I mean, you'll see it as one song. We got the time telepathy experiment, then Overture, then Ayreon's Quest with Edward Riekers on vocals on that. Then I'll tell you a little more about the song once it's over, but I wanted to set it up. All right, I'm going to have the lyrics up as always, and boy, it's important in something like this. Thanks again, River. Okay, it was all self-explanatory, right? So the first part was setting up the story. The second part, the Overture, was just instrumental, and the third part was just vocals. It was just Edward Riekers just telling us what was going on. So there's another, like before we get to the second song, there's another thing I found, Act 1, The Dawning. The receiver of the telepathic messages is Ayreon, a blind minstrel living in the 6th century Britain, as River tells. He's lived in darkness from the day he was born, but one fateful day, everything changes. Ayreon can see images. The minstrel believes these visions are sent to him by the lords of time. Unaware of how much time there is left before Earth is destroyed, Ayreon sets out to tell the tale of Earth's demise, singing songs of war, natural disaster, and computer technology. The terrifying tales frighten the villagers who run him out of town with the awareness. Coming up next. Now, I don't have a lot else from here on in, so we'll figure it out as it goes. The awareness has the premonition, Dreamtime, Words Become a Song, in parentheses, and the awakening with Edward Riekers on that one as well. So 3 parts as well. All right. It starts out with Merlin talking, then you have the premonition, which is an instrumental. Then you have Dreamtime, Words Become Song. So obviously that's where we get an actual song in here of, he's getting the vision and everything that's coming on, like, the smoke is rising, the vision's getting clearer, and words become a song in the dream time. So it kind of takes you on from there. And then we get to the awakening, which is an instrumental. So this is doing a very good job of kind of letting you know what's going on without me having to really tell you, but I'm telling you anyway, just so you can kind of track with it as it's going. Next up, I have Eyes of Time. So for the first 3.5 minutes, it is Eyes of Time. And then the second part of the song, it's called Brainwaves with Lenny Wolf on vocals on it. All right, Eyes of Time, which the song itself, Eyes of Time, really well done. Tell me what you see. The villagers keep asking, "I'm not telling you now, I see the world through the eyes of time." And he's kind of just talking about that, kind of all that. I cannot see with these eyes. He starts out, "My world is dark like a cold eternal light. I could not tell you no lies. My words are lost in a shroud of mystery." Then that just constant back and forth. The villagers, "Tell me what you see. I cannot tell you. I see the world through the eyes of time." Very catchy, really well done. And then Brainwaves is just an instrumental. As we're a little ways into this album, this is a long album, and the next song's really long, although it doesn't really matter because you really just listen to all of it in totality. It's just however he decided to divide it up. So I don't have really issue with song lengths on something like this because it's just however he decided to break it, because one song flows right into the next. I just have to stop it so we can kind of talk about it for a minute. But, a lot of times these projects get tied down a little bit and get too lengthy by too many instrumental runs. And that might be what is kind of going on here, but it hasn't quite happened yet. But, shave a minute off of an instrumental here or there. I get it when you're writing an opera, a rock opera, but if it's not going to be acted out on a stage, these parts don't fit in quite the same way. But I'm not saying he's there yet, and he might not get there. So on this one, it's the banishment. So we have 5 things on here. We got A New Dawn, The Gathering, The Accusation, The Banishment, and then Oblivion, which has Jan Chris de Couture, I say that wrong, and Robert Soderbeck on that one. All right, let's go. Okay, The Banishment, 11 minutes. I'll try to break it down a little bit. The first 3:13 were instrumental, which were fine. And then The Accusation, so now they're coming at him, right? They're coming at Ayreon. Like, they're saying, "You're causing us all these problems. What have I done?" He keeps asking him. You've aroused the forces of destruction. He keeps saying, "What have I done?" You've unleashed the rage of the gods. What have I done? You've denounced the wonder of creation. You betrayed your own. Now you have to pay. It has been foretold in days of old, an evil soul will corrupt the world to achieve his goal. He's the devil's seed, an evil breed. He's going to make you bleed. He'll take all he needs with uncontrollable greed. And so they're accusing him of this, right? So we kind of go through that. And then we get the banishment, another instrumental. And then we get to Oblivion, where we get, the Cookie Monster vocals, where, they're just the hard, gruff, which I'm not always a fan of. It's not really my thing. I know River likes it, and I don't hate it. It just depends on what it is. But it really fits here. Like, this is the exact proper way to do this, because Ayreon says, if I have died, then there must be hell. If I'm alive, I cannot break this gruesome spell. I am seeking relief and finding none. I've fallen into oblivion, so into purgatory, basically. A force within dominates my tormented soul and empowers me to regain absolute control. I shall not yield, for I am the chosen one who shall rise from oblivion. So he's down in the first part of it, in the first verse. In the second verse, he pulls himself out. So really advancing the story. Now we'll get on a huge run of just single songs without acts within the song. But this is Act 2, King Arthur's Court. Alone and cast out of his village, Ayreon goes to King Arthur's castle, and being a famed minstrel, he's allowed to sing of his visions in the king's very own court. So we got the courtyard minstrel boy with Ian Perry. All right, only 2 minutes, 45 seconds. So I was like, wow, it's already over. So the music changes, right? The tempo, the mood, the atmosphere. Because now that he's been cast out, he's going into King Arthur's courtyard, and everybody's happy to see him. So that's kind of what this is about. So it just brings like a very good job on the arrangement of this one. Next up, we got Sail Away to Avalon with Barry Hay on this one. All right, so now they're trusting Ayreon. He's telling the Knights of the Round Table, the soldiers, go sail away to Avalon, find the Holy Grail. And, he is urging them on to action. So the song has that kind of arrangement. I like the female harmonies coming in. Really well done as we're advancing the story. Very easy to understand. We'll finish off Act 2 with Nature's Dance, and this is actually Ayreon on vocals on this. So a really good song here, because it takes you in. Obviously, I'm not blind, thank goodness, but it makes you feel what a blind person would feel, as Ayreon is just lamenting this in Nature's Dance, telling you the things. He can smell the grass, touch the flowers among the trees. I pass the hours and fantasize. I let the dance of nature inspire me to get those nature sounds in there. Now my mind is free from apparitions. I switch off like a television and close my eyes. And I wish I could see like everybody can, how I wish that I could be like any other man. I can't see the sun, but I sense its glow. I hear the sound of water flowing down the stream. My heart cries out for a little bit of love, but I know that it was not meant to be, so I fulfill my destiny and accept my fate. So he realizes this is his fate, right? To get these words from the future, but like you really feel like I can feel these things and hear these things, but I can't see these things. So really well done. Now we get to Act 3, Visual Echoes. Jealous of his ability to foresee the future, Merlin, the court's wizard, isn't pleased with Ayreon's message, convincing the court the minstrel must be a fake. So we'll start off with Computer Rain, in parentheses, game over. Ian Perry back on vocals here. That would be the thing of the things that they're sending to him from the future. The computer part would be hard to comprehend, because obviously they didn't exist for 1,000+ years and then some from when he's getting this word. All right, Computer Rain, game over. More electronica, more rocking on here as it should be, as we kind of go to the future. And Ayreon was very prophetic here, because he's talking about Ayreon, the writer himself, the artist, but Ayreon talking here too. But the future of the world is we're letting it be overtaken by what we created, the computers. And AI in 2025 is getting smarter by the minute, so probably pretty prophetic here. Now we go to Warricle with Jay Van Fiegelen on vocals. All right, Warricle, great guitar work there. I haven't mentioned this because on every song there's so much to them, but the guitar work, there's some bass work on here that's fantastic. The arrangements are really good. So the last song was talking about computers in the world. This is talking about war in the world, and but there's a computer tie-in, or there's a technology tie-in, and talking about how one man, because of technology, can kind of do the ultimate thing. So I would guess the nuclear button, but some of it seems like it's kind of words of maybe foreseeing Hitler and somebody who can do all this damage and do all these things. And the women on there, those female vocals coming back and forth at him on a lot of these songs, really add some good texture to it. So all through the ages, men will die before their time in an everlasting war. As long as man shall live, wars will be waged. Will we ever be set free? The answer to that is probably no, we won't. Next up, we got Ayreon on vocals on these next two, actually, that finish out Act 3. We got Listen to the Waves. All right, Listen to the Waves. So we've covered the computers, we've covered war, now environment. There's nothing left. Where are all the creatures? They're gone. So builds nicely on that good guitar work. Long drawn out instrumentation on here, a little bit more than I would have liked just because we're this deep into the album. But a good job of conveying this. And we'll finish off Act 3. We still got one more act. There's 4 acts. I should have told you at the start. With Magic Ride. All right, Magic Ride. So Merlin is coming against Ayreon, who's not talking this. It's all Merlin that Ayreon, the artist, is singing as, and women just keep saying that Ayreon. But it's basically saying I'm going to vanquish you from the earth, and then the knights say if it's Merlin's will, it's going to happen. So now as we go into the last act, Ayreon is back where he was in the first act, where he's in trouble. In Act 4, Merlin's will and Ayreon's fate. Merlin believes it's necessary to silence Ayreon forever and curses him. With the curse completed, Merlin realizes his error, but it's too late. The wizard then predicts that the message will arrive in the mind of another minstrel at the end of the 20th century. So we're going to start out with Merlin's will, which I would guess the last song already built on, right? Or built us up to, with Leon Gowie on lead vocals. Yeah, kind of what I thought. It's just a carry on to Magic Ride. It really could be one song because women are Ayreon. Don't you know him? Merlin's just telling him, like, you're done. I'll have you know that I can. Charm you with the wave of my hand. You bow to my command. You're an evil stranger. You become a danger. Your words are all but a lie. I vow that you shall die. And then the knights are like, his will be done. And the women just kept saying, Ayreon. So, Ayreon's going to be toast here. He's going to have to exit stage left, is what I think. Now we're going to go to the charm of the Sear. We got Rude Howling and Lucy Helen here. And there's only 3 songs left. So I don't know if this is going to have a culmination, since there's many albums with this concept. I have no idea, but we're about to find out. Charm of the Sear. So Ayreon's like lamenting the fact that he's seen all these things and he would just like to give up, but he can't. But, like, things are tough for him. And he bows in the charm of the Sear. So things are not going well for Ayreon. A great arrangement here. All these different things, almost to like a carnival type atmosphere there towards but maybe the halfway mark. And then, the way the classical build happens, it's just, it's really well done. Well, I don't like how this is sounding. It's the next to the last song, and we got Swan Song. Okay, well, nothing to fear because it was just an instrumental, but probably a good choice actually of an instrumental there. You could say in a 72-minute, 15-song album with many like parts and suites in some of these songs, you didn't need it there, but it takes away that drama out of the charm of the Sear, kind of takes us back down. And then we're going to go into Ayreon's fate, which is in 3 parts. We're going to finish with 3 parts. Ayreon's fate, Merlin's prophecy, and of course, the epilogue. Let's get it. All right, Ayreon's fate. I thought the best vocal performance on this entire album. I thought it was really good. And I thought the ending part, the prologue or epilogue, the outcome of the final experiment is now been placed in your hands, and then the clock's ticking. So I don't know. Merlin's telling him, you're out of here. And then Ayreon's saying, I forgive you. You don't know what you're doing. And then Merlin kind of figures out that he was wrong, that Ayreon was who he said he was. And so Merlin's prophecy, the second part, I see one day his story will be told. At the end of the 20th century, I see one day the truth will unfold. And the quest has now begun, O Ayreon. I hope one day that man will understand it's in his power to change his destiny. I hope one day he'll do all that he can, and all the nations will be one, O Ayreon. So he's figured out the error of his ways, but I don't know what happens to Ayreon. And I guess that's the idea, right? Because we're going to learn hopefully in the next album, what the next step is, I'm assuming, on this exact story arc. But usually at this part, I get to my favorite tracks. These things are weird. These operas are weird because it's kind of hard to pick a favorite track. I mean, I enjoyed Eyes of Time. The song, like the first part of the song was Eyes of Time. It was really catchy. Enjoyed Sail Away to Avalon. I enjoyed Ayreon's Fate, this last song. I mean, I guess those are my faves, but it's not really a fave because, like I said, he's just picking where to like cut these off and call songs because you have to do that. But I mean, it's just all one piece of music, right? It's a 72-minute piece of music that has to be digested, in my opinion, all at once. But, you can pull out great vocal performances like the last one. I get it. But so that's kind of where I'm there. Now we're getting to my overall score. These are also very interesting to grade overall. Would I ever listen to this again? No. And I don't think it's really designed for you to listen to it a bunch of times in a row. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he would enjoy that, but it's not like the main point. He's not trying to write something catchy. He's trying to write something that captures you. I thought what he did really well was, without me explaining a ton to you, you could understand this through just listening to it. Now, definitely helps you to have some background of where he's coming from when you're going into it. If you're just trying to figure this out cold as you listen to the first song, that'd be a little different. Like you'd figure it out, but you have to work a lot harder. So it is nice to kind of know the concept of it, but then you can follow along with the story without a whole lot of explanation. That's not always the case with these concept albums. And, you know, because it's an opera, but it's also a concept album. That's really what we're talking about here. Concept albums, I kind of grade them on whether do they work or not. This one works as far as you can understand what's going on from step to step. There's nothing too abstract where you're really trying to figure it out. You know, I hit on a little bit of, it's too long. And these concept albums can get carried away that way. You could knock a minute off instrumentals here and there and take it from like 72 to like 65, 64. That's a more workable range. Really 60 would be ideal, but you could just 65 and that would help because it's a lot to digest in a single listening and you need to digest it in a single listening, in my opinion. But I'm still going to be like at a 7.5. I mean, he did a really good job with this. This is the first one he did. So I think he did a really good job. There wasn't any song where I'm like, that doesn't work, or what's he talking about, or it doesn't sound good. I mean, he did a really good job. Remember, he played almost all the instruments on here, so I'm really impressed. So I'll give it a 7.5 and look forward to the future stuff. But let me know what you guys think of this down below. What's your overall grade, and does this work for you? Do you have favorite tracks, or all those good things? I would ask you for suggestions, but I think River's going to guide us here, so I probably don't need suggestions right now on Ayreon. Remember, if you're not watching this when it first dropped, there's probably more Ayreon up. Just search for the playlist. I'll make a playlist Ayreon, or just type in the bar up above Ayreon, and you'll find other stuff. All right. Thanks again to River for bringing this one. Until next time, guys, I will see ya.